I am convinced that the people of the world, and specifically Americans, are largely ignorant of the influence that intelligence agencies have in what they see on TV. And I'm also convinced that most Americans don't know about the Church Committee. I'm going to read you some of this, and then I'm going to play you what CNN played the other night after the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And the name of this video is Undecided Pennsylvania Voters React to the Harris-Trump Debate. But before I play you what the Counterfeit News Network played, I want to refresh your memory on what the conclusion of the Church Committee was. And remember, this is back in the 1970s. It says, and this is from Senate.gov. This is not something that comes from some wacky conspiracy theorist. It says, intelligence agencies have undermined the constitutional rights of citizens. That's what the final report said. Primarily because checks and balances designed by the framers of the Constitution to assure accountability have not been applied. And if you want to go to a top shelf authoritative source that YouTube would recognize, this right here is from Wikipedia, and it says the Church Committee, formerly known as the United States Senate Select Committee to Study Governmental Operations with Respect to Intelligence Activities, was a U.S. Senate Select Committee in 1975 that investigated abuses by the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, and the IRS. Further, the most shocking revelations of the committee included Operation MKUltra, which involved the drugging and torture of unwitting U.S. citizens. The government would never do that to us, would it? As part of a human experimentation on mind control, it also revealed COINTELPRO, which involved the surveillance and infiltration of American political and civil rights organizations and some other things. But I want to show you another conclusion. First, this is what Frank Church himself said when he appeared on NBC's Meet the Press. In the need to develop a capacity to know what potential enemies are doing, the United States government has perfected a technological capability, this is in 1975, that enables us to monitor the messages that go through the air. Now, that is necessary and important to the United States as we look abroad at enemies or potential enemies. We must know at the same time that capacity at any time could be turned around on the American people, and no American would have any privacy left. 1975. Can you imagine? Nearly 50 years later, the technological capabilities these intelligence agencies have to deploy against us, such as the capacity to monitor everything, telephone conversations, telegrams, it doesn't matter. There would be no place to hide. If this government ever became a tyranny, if a dictator ever took charge in this country, the technological capability that the intelligence community has given the government could enable it to impose total tyranny, and there would be no way to fight back because the most careful effort to combine together in resistance to the government, no matter how privately it was done, is within the reach of the government to know. Such is the capability of this technology. He says, this is the abyss from which there is no return. And lastly, talking about the CIA infiltration and other government intelligence agencies infiltrating print and televised media back in the 1970s, in 1977, the reporter Carl Bernstein wrote an article in the Rolling Stone magazine stating that the relationship between the CIA and the media was far more extensive than that which the Church Committee revealed. Bernstein said that the committee had covered it up because it would have shown, quote, embarrassing relationships in the 1950s and 60s with some of the most powerful organizations and individuals in American journalism. And now we turn to this CNN, Counterfeit News Network, or Communist News Network broadcast featuring none other than CIA asset or former CIA asset Anderson Cooper.
We're getting the first reaction to the debate from our focus group, from voters in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. Phil Mattingly is with them in Erie, Pennsylvania. So tell us who you're with and what they're saying about the debate.
Oh, it's a Central Intelligence, according to the Church Committee, it's a Central Intelligence focus group. What does the Central Intelligence Agency want you and I to focus on?
Yeah, Anderson, we talk about how critical Pennsylvania is for each candidate's pathway to 270 electoral votes. We're here in Erie County, Erie, Pennsylvania. We're sitting currently at Mercyhurst University, been wonderful host for us. The reason why we're here 400 miles away from the debate is Erie County is the swingiest county in the most important swing state of this campaign. There's no question about it. When Obama in 2012, when Trump in 2016, when Biden in 2020, the last two cycles, just about 1,500 votes each separated the two candidates. So we wanted to ask voters who have not made a firm decision yet who they want to vote for, what they actually saw in this debate. Now, these are voters that have in the past supported Republicans and Democrats. They have in the past shown support for former President Trump or for Joe Biden. But coming into this night, they told us that they had not made up their minds yet in this election. So just to step back a little bit, show our focus group two people, Erie residents, again, most important state, most important county in that state. We asked for a show of hands before the debate who hadn't made up their mind yet, but thought this debate may determine where they would go with their vote. To start with this debate, who do you think won by show of hands? Former President Trump. Two, I'll give it four, but tentative. Two over there. What about Vice President Harris?
Okay, so first of all, the psychological operation here is to express and impress the legitimacy of American elections on the psychological makeup and mind of the American people. It's very important that we understand who won this debate, because whoever won is the likely candidate to be the leader of the free world, to be the commander-in-chief of the military-industrial complex. A lot of things hinge on this debate. That's what the intelligence agencies, through the propaganda arm called mainstream media, want you to take away from this.
More hands. For those of you who thought this debate could be determinative, how many of you have made up your minds based on what you saw tonight on stage in Philadelphia? Raise your hands. All right, I want to ask you why.
I'm going to pick the leader of an entire country based on their performance in a corporate media sponsored and funded presidential debate.
What did you see that brought you to a conclusion?
I think it's important to remember that we are voting for the leader of our country and not who we like the most or who we want in our wedding party, but who is actually going to make our country better. And we're in an incredibly unique situation where we've had both of the candidates in office before, and we've gotten to see what they would do. And when facts come to facts, my life was better when Trump was in office. The economy was higher, inflation was lower, things were better overall. And now with Kamala's administration.
Who controls that? Because you know they have to give you breadcrumbs. They have to make good times and bad times. Oh my gosh, look, my life was better under this president. My life was worse under that president. But what's the thread line that supports the existence and the power of both presidencies, whether it's Democrat or Republican? It's who owns the issuance and the value of the currency. They're the ones who will determine whether they're going to dilute the money supply or pull back and strengthen the value of each unit in the money supply.
Things haven't been so fantastic. And she's saying she can fix the problems that her administration has caused, but I just don't know if I can afford to take that risk.
Were you leaning towards the former president coming into the night?
Probably.
And did you vote for him in 2016 or 2020?
I did.
So, decision made there. What did you think?
As to who I would vote for in this election, I strongly felt Kamala was more optimistic, more...
So, do you remember when they made a huge deal on how you're supposed to pronounce that chick's name? She just said Kamala.
Kamala.
Bill Clinton mispronounced her name at the Democratic National Convention.
Ask for their help and then follow our leader, Kamala.
But CNN, this network right here, made a huge deal on how you're supposed to correctly pronounce her name. And if you don't, the reason you're not is linked to racism.
And
Right.
Kamala Harris, if
Kamala,
I were a man,
Kamala. You said
I
this
will
before.
say
Nancy
anything that
Nancy.
I want.
It's
Come on,
Kamala.
it's
You're
Kamala.
doing this
You
on
can't-
purpose,
I am
Congresswoman.
not.
Kamala. We need Kamala Harris.
Kamala, Kamala.
I thought she had plans that she tried to describe in the minutes worth of time that she had. I mean, they really were limited with their time. So, I don't know, I just felt more strongly for her as opposed to her opponent.
I want to talk about some of the moments of the debate because, as we told you guys before the debate, each of these individuals had a dial. And if they turned the dial to the right, then they felt positive about what they were hearing in that moment.
I'm speeding this up to 1.25.
If they turned it to the left, they felt less so. They felt negative about what they were hearing. We could track that throughout the debate. We're going to show you a couple of moments where you saw the biggest movement towards positive direction for both of those candidates. You will see the lines at the bottom of the screen, and you will see that movement as the sound we play you plays out. We're going to start with this.
Because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote.
Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon.
This indicator right here at the bottom is very interesting. That's all it takes for a dishonest, corrupt, lying politician to say something that you agree with to move the needle positive or negative.
Faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
So basically they're saying Democrats are the blue, the purple are the independents, and the red are the Republicans. And CNN wants to highlight the fact that independent voters and Democrat voters responded positively to what Kamala Harris was saying right there.
That sound, obviously, that moment was a critical moment, not just for the debate on one of the critical issues of this campaign on the issue of reproductive rights and abortion, but it was also one that garnered significant reaction from our focus group, which I want to ask about right now. For those of you who responded positively to Vice President Harris's answer, tell me why. Yeah, please.
I responded positively to her answer because I do struggle with the abortion issue, and I don't know that she and I agree, but I don't know that, like she said, that government should be in charge of people's decisions. And I think that when she was talking about situations of rape and incest, I think that those happen more than we think that they do. And I don't know, I just felt her impassioned response and that she would carry it out.
And that resonated with you in the moment?
Yes, it did.
Who else had a positive response? Go ahead, please.
I felt like it was her most genuine and passionate that I saw her pretty much throughout it. I didn't necessarily agree with what she was saying, but my favorable reactions were because it was nice to see the passion and believability that she stands behind, and then have something to gauge more of what she says on, since she hasn't spoken a lot solidly about a lot of issues.
Now, what CNN could have done right here to introduce the wrecking ball of a reality into this woman's world and the world of anybody who thinks like this is, let me just ask you, be honest with this, the answer to this question. Does the word genuine and politician, did those go together? Is there such a thing as a genuine politician, a truthful politician? Now you talk about genuineness and passion, so maybe you're talking more about passion than genuineness, but do you think there's any such thing as a genuine politician? Because what they want to convey here is that there are genuine politicians, that this election is legitimate to transfer power from one person to another, from either Biden to Kamala Harris or from Biden to Donald Trump. And they want you to buy into that legitimacy, that made for TV legitimacy, so that you can keep the serfs, let's call them, on the plantation. Because as long as you let the serfs know, hey, you have some measure of control of your own destiny. Here, look, we're going to give you the opportunity to choose which slave master you want running the plantation. And oftentimes, psychologically speaking, that's all it takes for tens of millions of people to be pacified.
And I think what's been interesting, again, following how you guys were tracking the debate, which is a fascinating experience, and I should know, nobody in this room has been listening to the post-game coverage. Nobody in this room has been listening to the analysis. We've actually all been talking amongst ourselves. It's been a really great conversation. There was another critical moment, and this was Donald Trump's best moment based on your guys' responses, and it was when he was discussing Afghanistan. Listen.
In getting out, we would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
So that was the former president talking about the Afghanistan withdrawal, where 13 U.S. service members were killed in that chaotic process. You're a veteran. Yes. There are obviously personal feelings here as well. That answer, and it's been an issue that he's talked about constantly on the campaign. What stood out to you for it?
When I first heard that we were abandoning or we were withdrawing from Afghanistan and the way it was happening, I had my Kennedy moment. It was very similar to when we decided to invade Iraq back under President Bush. And when I saw that we were leaving that amount of high-tech equipment in the hands of our enemy, and later that day or later that week.
By the way, an invasion that took place under the umbrella of a lie, which was incessantly propagated by, at that time, mainstream media, ABC, NBC, Faux News, CNN. They propagated the weapons of mass destruction lie, which was the foundation and the springboard from which they made a decision to go invade. Trillions and trillions of dollars later, here we have networks that are constantly saying, hey, you can trust us. We're not fake news. We're just giving you the truth.
I saw on the news where them celebrating with our guns in their hands. I realized what a travesty that was. In the loss of money in that we abandoned when we left, plus the very bullets that we left there that they were shooting at us as we flew away into planes.
Before we close, let me just circle back. This is the nature of the church committee, that the intelligence agencies have undermined the constitutional rights of, I'm not even going to call you citizens, because if you're a citizen, then you're a subject. If you're a subject, that means somebody is over you. Is anybody really legitimately over you? Any man or woman or any group of men or women, are they over you? Do they have a higher claim over your life and property than you? Do they have the right to initiate unjust force and violence on you if you have done nothing wrong? Answer that question, because CNN never will. So what we've got here in this focus group, we got the intelligence agencies of the United States of America working through their propaganda arm called mainstream media to try to convince the American public that all this stuff that you're seeing in Team Red and Team Blue is somehow legitimate. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought, please, in the comments section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Disturbing Illusion. And here's the deal. If you want to support the channel further, grab a shirt, become a channel member. But more importantly, realize that in times of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. I will see you in the next video.